What's up, everybody?
Welcome to Weekend Update. I'm Ryan Siegel.
I'm Cody Cohen. Here are tonight's top stories.
Wait. What?
There's nothing on this paper. This is just paper.
What? I thought this was not Weekend Update auditions.
Oh no, clearly
No, this
not.
is.
Wait, what is this?
Wait. I thought SNL was like. I thought we were doing something in DC this week. Good.
No.
This isn't- I'm in the wrong room.
That was Seth Meyers.
I'm in the wrong room.
I'm upset.
God.
Well,
We're on camera for, like, what? This is ATV, I guess.
I guess we can say one thing. Ready?
Yeah.
This is Sportszone.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Sportszone. This is Studio 90. I'm Ryan Siegel. I'm joined alongside with Vikram and Jessica. Guys, lots of news to talk about, especially in the EPL marquee matchups. Chelsea and Manchester United. Jose Mourinho going back to Stamford Bridge for the first time since they sacked him. So Vikram, take us through what happened in Stamford Bridge.
It was a great game, I thought. Mourinho back at Chelsea. It was going to be a controversial thing, obviously. He was just calm about it. And he wouldn't have been calm after 30 seconds after conceding so early. But yeah, Man U's defense was a joke on Sunday. I mean, 4-0 against Chelsea, who have not been at their best. So they need to get up, Man U. They need to pull the socks up.
I'd have to agree with you. Their defense has not been very good, especially coming from the fact that they have one of the best goalies in the world in David De Gea. Their back four really has to kind of step up their game. They have not been playing well, and that's not going to help them if they want to continue and make the Champions League for next season in the EPL. But swinging to other matchups and swinging to other teams, Liverpool. Liverpool really got a nice bump since everybody they needed ahead of them lost. Jessica, how do you think this week kind of affected Liverpool going through the Barclays Premier League standings?
For sure, it was really beneficial. Everyone either tied or lost in the top, and that helped them tie up. So now we have the top three teams at 20 points, and it should be really interesting to see how that unfolds coming up this weekend.
I have to agree with you. I think it'll definitely be huge for Liverpool now that they're back in the mix and these top teams all help them lose. Swinging to Spain now, you have pretty much your standard 1-2 punch in Barcelona and Real Madrid, kind of going back and forth. Vikram, do you see Barcelona taking over the number one spot, or do you see Real holding it for a lot longer?
It's tight. I mean, Madrid have been unbeaten about 15, 16 games now. Barca are slowly picking up. They lost a few games. They almost lost the game against Valencia. But, I mean, it's going to be tight. You can never say, until the Clásico at least, you can never say who's going to go ahead. It's been like that since many years in Madrid, in La Liga. So it's going to be tight between those two teams.
Yeah, and you can never count out Atletico Madrid in the third spot in the Madrid derby. Swinging back to England, I almost forgot this matchup, and it sits near and dear to my heart. You have the Manchester derby this week, the Manchester United against Manchester City. Jessica, is this like the matchup that Manchester United, is this a must-win for Manchester United?
For sure, I definitely think that if they win, it'll help them, get the motivation they need to do well in the Premier League. Will they win? I'm not sure. I really hope they do, but I can definitely see Manchester City taking it just because I feel like Manchester City is playing better than Manchester United. Their defense is definitely not as bad, and so I definitely see Manchester City winning. I really hope United does, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, with a back line anchored by Vincent Kompany, who's been a real anchor for that back line and center back. Him and John Terry, probably two of the more elite backs in the EPL. And it's going to be very interesting to see, since Manchester United, with these big offensive signings in Pogba and Ibrahimovic, really not panning out at the top of the league table where everybody expected them to be. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this edition of Studio 90. More Sportszone coming to you after this. Hello, welcome back to Sportszone. I am back this week. This is our NFL segment going for two. I'm joined alongside with Jake and Nathan. Guys, lots of very interesting stories, and I think we have to pick by far the biggest story. There was a tie this week in the National Football League. The Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks in by far what was considered one of the matchups of the week. I think one of us had it probably last week. a 6-6 tie and 2 NFL kickers miss under 30-yard field goals. Nathan, what happened out in Glendale?
You know, this is a story of 2 unstoppable forces colliding together. I mean, both teams are very similarly matched. I mean, you have Carson Palmer and Russell Wilson, 2 franchise quarterbacks who, under these circumstances, got smothered by defenses. I mean, they could not get it in the red zone. They could not convert. And you have 2 really good kickers in Catanzaro and Hauschka. I can't believe I said Hauschka's name right for the first time. But with this game, it was a story of defenses. And I think it bodes well for both teams. I mean, Arizona has had their struggles in the past, giving up a myriad of points to many teams, including Los Angeles a few weeks ago. So I think this tie, while is not good in the standings perspective, I think you can take some positives away from both teams.
I'd have to agree with you. However, it was still absolutely bizarre. Bobby Wagner jumped over the center earlier in the game, blocked a field goal, jumps over the center again, forces Catanzaro to miss. Hauschka comes down. Christine Michael centers him 28 yards out, and it was probably wider than Scott Norwood's field goal attempt in the Super Bowl. Anyway, swinging to other, I guess, bigger matchups, I guess, and somewhat a little bit more exciting. You had the Green Bay Packers taking on the Chicago Bears on Thursday night. Really just an absolute domination show by Green Bay. Jake, take us through what's going on with the Chicago Bears.
I mean, we're seeing it. I mean, half of their, quote-unquote, good defensive players are all injured. I mean, the defense is rail thin as it is when you have almost all their, decent players hurt. That's going to happen. You had Brian Hoyer, who had been somehow able to string together yards, not touchdowns, but yards, the last couple of weeks, get hurt. Put in Matt Barkley, who's never started an NFL game in his life. I don't think he's ever really played any significant time. He got traded by the Eagles to the Cardinals last year, got cut, kind of wound up on the Bears, kind of managed just to saunter his way onto the field. Offense being completely inept. No sign of the running game against that Packers defense that besides last week against the Cowboys has been absolutely destructive against the run. Can't get a running game going. Got a QB who can't play. It's just, people want to say that this might have been the game where Aaron Rodgers got his groove back, but this was just, the Bears never had a chance going in.
Well, Aaron Rodgers did need to get his groove back, and, he has been lights out at Lambeau his entire career. I think it's very interesting to see, and clearly you can see the big difference in skill level in the top 2 teams in that division and the bottom 2. Speaking of other NFC North teams, you had the Minnesota Vikings, the final undefeated team in the NFL, fall to Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles. I can't believe I'm saying that on ATV air, but the Philadelphia Eagles dethroned the last undefeated team in the National Football League. Jake, take us through what happened in South Philly.
I mean, really, that game was literally just a worst-case scenario for the Vikings. I mean, you saw this entire year, they've been basically miraculously been able to fight through all sorts of injuries on offense. Teddy Bridgewater goes down, no problem. Adrian Peterson goes down, no problem. Both their tackles go down, no problem. Suddenly, you got some problems. Because you see right here, I mean, this week, the reason that offense has been able to work is because they've been able to operate turnover-free. In the first quarter, you have 2 turnovers. You turn over the ball, I believe they turned over the ball 4 times in that game. Sam Bradford was pressured by Jim Schwartz's defense from the moment the game began. He never had any chance. That's what happens. You're trying to work in a Jake Long, who was signed 3 days ago, and 2 other guys whose names I don't know, at tackle. When, once again, both of your tackles are probably out for the year. You don't have Adrian Peterson. You have Asiata, McKinnon, that running back. The Vikings just had no chance to be able to play productive offense, and you might finally be seeing these injuries kind of start to catch up with them after a run against some very impressive teams.
I'd have to agree with you. Philadelphia really turning some heads this year in the NFC East. I believe they're currently up in, I believe they might be even first place.
Second place, second place behind, the 5-1 Cowboys.
Yes, behind the Dallas Cowboys, who were on bye this week. However, there was a team that did not choke this week in the AFC West. The San Diego Chargers found a way to finally not lose in the last 2 minutes, holding off an unstoppable offense in the Atlanta Falcons. I believe they are the number 1 offense in the NFL. Nathan, is it that time of year where the Chargers are finally, back in their groove?
Chargers. As a Raiders fan myself, I've been watching the Chargers go down harder than the Titanic, and I've seen them from the Oakland Raiders, their placeholder missing the field goal or missing the holding and letting it dribble away. I thought the Chargers did not have a chance, but you know what? They show me differently. In overtime, the San Diego Chargers, their defense and offense proved to be true. Phillip Rivers proved that he can still lead a team. Melvin Gordon, 3 touchdowns. Who can really predict the Chargers this season? Everyone predicted the Chargers were going to be probably kind of bad this year with the whole Joey Bosa situation and the questionable coaching hot seat that they have in McCoy. But I think the Chargers are really turning a corner. I think without Keenan Allen, Travis Benjamin has really slid into his role as the number 1 receiver. I think that Melvin Gordon is finally becoming the running back that the San Diego Chargers not needed, but one they deserved. And I really do believe that Joey Bosa, now that he's been signed, is going to be a beast for the Chargers for years to come.
Oh, you say going. The last 2 games, I think the last 3 games, every game he's been in, I think he's had multiple sacks. Every game he started. You can't underestimate the difference that Joey Bosa has been able to make. You look at this team. It's a team that 2 years ago was a playoff team. Last year, completely destroyed by injuries. Had a terrible record, but really, I believe this is a team that has a lot of talent. And now that they've been able to kind of turn it around and start winning these close games, I think they're a team that I think they'll have the ability to make some noise and be able to compete in that division.
But not against the Raiders. I'd
have to agree with you. Lastly, quickly, matchup of the week. Nathan, start with you.
I would say my matchup of the week going to go against my hometown Oakland Raiders versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You got 2 sophomore quarterbacks coming in. Jameis Winston with a high-powered offense with Mike Evans coming in. You also have Jaquiz Rodgers as his running back, along with the unknown. It was Peyton Hearns. I don't even know what his name is. Getting over 100 yards rushing as well. But then Derek Carr coming in with Seth Roberts, Amari Cooper, and Michael Crabtree. That's my game of the week.
Easily my game of the week is definitely a game that'll probably determine a lot of the first top seeds in the NFC now, with the Vikings having 1 loss. And that'll be the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys, which is a game that'll really show what the future of the NFC East is going to hold, with Carson Wentz dueling against Dak Prescott for the first time. Really, it's just going to be a very interesting game. We saw the Eagles have a very ferocious pass rush all game. Will be interesting to see once again how the Dallas line faces off against another great challenge. See how Ezekiel Elliott's able to run against that. And we'll be able to see how Carson Wentz is able to kind of come and play against decently soft but overperforming Dallas defense.
Both great matchups. I have to go NFC North, Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings. Can Minnesota rebound with these injuries against a weaker Bears team? Anyway, that's all the time we have for this edition of Going for Two. More Sportszone coming to you after this.
Hello and welcome back to more Sportszone. This is the Galleon and the Gridiron, the best fantasy segment in the DMV area. Here we're going to show you all the tips, tricks, secrets, and skills you need to win in your fantasy league in Week 8 and beyond. I'm joined here, as usual, by Ryan Siegel and, becoming usual, Nathan Lee, and we're going to talk some fantasy. So, Ryan, starting with you, what was your biggest surprise from this week?
Biggest surprise this week was Melvin Gordon with 29 points in standard scoring this week. Unbelievable performance. 3 touchdowns total, 2 rushing, 1 receiving. He had 60 rushing yards and then another 60 in the air. Really kind of took everybody by surprise, especially against a very good Atlanta front 7.
I gotta agree with you, from a guy who had Melvin Gordon on his bench all of last year. I'm at least glad to see that the revelation is finally coming down. But Nathan, what's a surprise for you this year, this week?
The Miami running back, Jay Ajayi, posted 200 plus yards in 2 consecutive weeks. He joins the ranks of one famous O.J. Simpson in that regard, or infamous in this case. I think Jay Ajayi in this week really showed up with 23 rushing attempts for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. Oh my gosh, he's going to be great for next week.
Jay Ajayi slowly proving that he is not Jonas Gray 2.0. Anyway, moving on, we have a lot of teams on byes this week. You got Baltimore, you got New York Giants, you got Pittsburgh Steelers, you got the LA Rams, you got the San Francisco who cares or Niners, and another team that I can't remember, but it's fine. So anyway, who are your replacements for players on these teams this week?
I think if you have Jamison Crowder in your lineup, you got to play Jamison Crowder with a injured Jordan Reed, who's probably not coming back again this week. I think you got to play Crowder, especially if you're in a PPR league. He's very good, catches a lot of balls for short yardage, and he also gets you some punt return and kick return yardage as well. So I think if you have Crowder, you got to start Crowder.
Here, who are players on teams not on buys this week you think you got to watch out for guys trying to fill out spots this week?
I think Detroit's Zach Zenner, as well as Justin Forsett. You got to weigh your options for there because I know running back along this time of year is getting a little bit committee-ish. So you got to find out which one is going to be the best. Zach Zenner did have a touchdown last week. I think they're going to increase his role at the goal line. So watch out for that next week as Detroit comes up and plays.
I mean, talk about committees. A player who I think you got to watch. You got to watch tonight on Monday Night Football, and by tonight I mean 4 days ago when you're watching this episode when it comes out. But a player to watch is Devontae Booker, who a player I drafted earlier, a player who I've been looking at, a player they drafted in I believe the 5th round this year, who has been looking to cut into C.J. Anderson's carries. He's had about 160 yards on 34 carries this year so far, but he's been a player who Gary Kubiak is talking about trying to get more involved in the offense, and C.J. Anderson being the above average but slightly overrated talent that he is to a lot of people, it'll be interesting to see if Devontae Booker is able to cut into some of these carries. Anyway, any more waiver wire targets out of you guys for this week?
Honestly, I got to say, if you Hunter Henry, the tight end out of San Diego, really kind of usurping the great Antonio Gates as the number one tight end out there. He's racking up a lot of points. So I would say if he's available in the waiver wire, because people are still very unsure of where he's going to be and how he's going to develop and whether they're actually going to start throwing the ball to Gates again, got to say you got to pick up Hunter Henry.
All right, and actually, one more specific situation we'll look at today with a player, very fantasy-relevant player, been a fantasy-relevant player for a few years, hasn't been in so much in the last year and a half, but Dez Bryant reported to be coming off injury this week. I suppose a specific thing to talk about, what do you think if you're a Dez Bryant owner? Is this a time to kind of try to sell high, sell low on Dez Bryant, or?
Well, Dak Prescott has proven to be an above-average quarterback for the first 8 weeks of the season, but I really do want, if you have Dez Bryant, hold on to him. I think he is still an elite wide receiver, and now that he is with Ezekiel Elliott, who's just getting in stride now, the play-action pass will then filter out great with a very mobile Dak Prescott. You're going to see a lot of touches with Dez Bryant. But if you do have a good trade opportunity, maybe a very top-tier running back, maybe it's a time to sell. But with Dez Bryant, he is a number one star receiver with a very good quarterback at his helm, and I hesitate to trade. I mean, trading Julio Jones with a Matt Ryan QB or Amari Cooper with Derek Carr, that's kind of the same situation you're at right now.
I'll agree with that. So anyway, from us here at the Galleon and the Gridiron and us here at the greater opus that is Sportszone, there'll be more of us coming at you next.
Hello and welcome back to Sportszone. I am Dan. I've got Vince and Ryan with me today as we've expanded our college football panel to 3 people, which is very exciting. Big news in college football this week. You've all probably seen it by now, even 2. Huge shakeup in the top 5. Ohio State losing to unranked Penn State University 24-21, dropping Ohio State out of the college football playoff for now, and moving Penn State into the top 25. Ryan, I will start with you. How catastrophic is this for Ohio State?
Not catastrophic enough. As much as I would like it to be, it is not enough. Ohio State will still find its way back. They still have a very tough schedule. They're still very looked upon favorably. If Alabama can lose a game and still be in the top 4, Ohio State will have a similar thing. However, the college football playoff ranking, it will be a difficult task, especially with the way Michigan has been playing, with the way Washington has been playing. It's not going to be as easy as Alabama, who plays an SEC schedule which is widely regarded as still the best football conference out there. But I think Ohio State will, somehow they'll find their way back into the fold. I believe college football playoff rankings come out in a week or 2, so you'll really see where they stand.
Well, Ryan talked a little about Michigan. They did take Ohio State's spot, moving up to number 2 in the country. Clemson at 3. Washington, who you also mentioned, now at number 4. So Vince, obviously Ohio State and Michigan, there's that in-conference rivalry there. Those 2 teams still have to play each other. Could that game be the one that decides who gets the playoff spot?
I will say it will, but with a caveat, because that game will be the de facto play-in game to the Big Ten championship, which you can't overlook. you probably will have Nebraska there, who's playing really good football right now, sitting at number 7. So it'll kind of be a round robin between those teams because Michigan playing Ohio State, the winner of that most likely on tiebreakers is going to go into the Big Ten championship. So then Nebraska probably has an easier schedule too to see out to the end of the season, and they'll be sitting there waiting in the Big Ten championship. Big Ten's only going to get one team into the playoff, so it's kind of going to be a play-in to the play-in game, if you will.
That's well said. Definitely well said. So just kind of talking also about the top 5 just for a little bit. Alabama, second consecutive game they played a top 10 team. Second consecutive week they kind of cruised. Texas A&M didn't really do enough to get it done. They they were number 6. They dropped down to I think number 9 this week after losing to Alabama. No shame losing to Alabama. But like even the best teams in the SEC, Alabama seems to have no problems. Is there a team that can actually challenge them?
I would say probably not. They've got LSU coming up in 2 weeks, which has been a big rivalry game over the past, but LSU, as we know, is a little bit weaker this year. They fired Les Miles. They're kind of in a bit of shambles this season. You look down the road in the SEC championship game, maybe Florida will be there, and maybe it'll be Tennessee again, who they've smashed. I think Alabama really won't face stiff competition until they enter the college football playoff. And as they've shown in the past couple years, they really, once you play them in a big game with significance, they really turn it on. And Alabama's good. They're a scary team this year, for sure.
So I want to talk a little bit about that number 3 team, Clemson. It's currently sitting at number 3 spot. Louisville currently sitting number 5. Those two teams, I believe, same conference. But Louisville this week stomped NC State, and NC State really pushed Clemson last week. That game needed to go to overtime, and Clemson lucked out on a missed chip shot field goal, which I know we talked about in our NFL segment this week, chip shot field goals, but last week it was college. So Ryan, I'll turn it over to you. Do you see those two teams potentially having another shakeup or two before we get to the playoff? As I said, Clemson 3, Louisville 5.
I honestly don't. I think Clemson's still just a dominant football team, mainly powered by Deshaun Watson and Wayne Gallman. They've really kind of relied on those two to be that dynamic duo, 1-2 punch with Deshaun Watson, who's a very, very mobile quarterback who can also take very large shots down the field, and Wayne Gallman, a guy who can run, can throw. He's kind of like he's playing in a better organization right now than Christian McCaffrey is, but has that dual threat of where he can run and when he can throw the ball. So right now, as I look at it, I still think the ACC is Clemson's to lose.
All right. Hot take right there from Ryan. Clemson to win the ACC. Though you can't count out Lamar Jackson. I mean, the numbers he's been able to put up this year has some people thinking he's a Heisman candidate. Obviously, we'll see how that comes out. Another shakeup here in the top 20. Houston came into the week at number 11, proceeds to lose to SMU handily, and find themselves on the outside now of the top 25 looking in and a surprise team into the top 10. West Virginia, very under the radar, sitting undefeated and now at number 10 overall in the country. Vince, I guess I'll go to you. Which of these more significant? Houston losing, West Virginia moving in?
I think it could be a team like West Virginia moving into the top 10 because you also have Baylor from the Big 12 in the top 10. And that's just an interesting storyline to follow because the Big 12 doesn't have a conference championship game. They've kind of been looked at unfavorably by the College Football Committee and really haven't been given the nod. TCU, notably in the first year, went from number 3 to number 6 after winning in the final week of the season. So it'll be kind of interesting. If those two teams can keep winning, it'll be interesting to see how hard it is to overlook those teams if, say, there's only 4 undefeated teams left. One of them's West Virginia, but they don't play that final week of the season for a Big 12 championship. Does that mean they get overlooked for a team like Louisville who has 1 loss?
Very interesting point. Ryan, really quickly, I'll pivot onto you. We had a big top 25 matchup this week. Auburn-Arkansas. Auburn came in at 21, Arkansas 17. And Auburn put a hurting on the Razorbacks by a tune of 56-3. What do you make from this game?
Honestly, it's really interesting to see Auburn. They kind of fly under the radar, and they're Alabama's awkward stepchild who's kind of in that state right now. That's another interesting point where they that Iron Bowl game can always be the decide. it's messed up Alabama before, and they haven't had the greatest track record in the last 5 years with that. But honestly, I think Auburn's a very, very underrated football team. They really never get the notoriety, especially with Nick Saban putting the smackdown on teams in Tuscaloosa. So I really think you can never count Auburn out. They always find their way to end in the top 25.
All right, and that is all the time we have for this week's college football segment. Stay tuned. We have more Sports Zone coming at you next.
Hello, welcome back to Sports Zone. This is Ice Time. I'm Ryan Siegel. Yes, I am back this week. Midterms last week really kind of derailed me. I had to finish a final project, so unfortunately I was unable to make the show. I heard I was in thumbs up, thumbs down, because, somebody else, could do Cody's thumbs. Cody Cohen could do Cody's thumbs. But anyway, I'm back. We're here to talk hockey. The NHL regular season is in full swing. A lot of kind of interesting shakeup, and I would say mainly coming from the rookies right now. Rookies including Jimmy Vesey, Darnell Nurse, and company. The main one, I would have to say, by far, Jimmy Vesey and Austin Matthews. Jimmy Vesey putting up a lot of points, scored his first goal in D.C., and has helped power the Rangers to a 4-2 record right now, which is currently first place in the Metropolitan Division. You look at guys like Darnell Nurse, who are manning the blue line, giving that Edmonton Oilers defense a lot more room and security along the blue line. They're now 5-1, and they are currently first place in the National Hockey League. Yes, the Edmonton Oilers are first place in the National Hockey League, sitting with a 5-1 record. Their goaltender, Cam Talbot, really kind of emerging to be that number one goalie, really emerging to be an elite goaltender in the National Hockey League. And he was honored this week. He was the NHL's first star of the week, Artem Anisimov at number 2, and Mike Green in Detroit at number 3. Mike Green still kicking around in that young, now revitalized, rejuvenated, much younger Detroit Red Wings team. Now without Pavel Datsyuk, they seem to be doing quite well. They are currently in the top 3 in the Atlantic Division. But it's still too early to look at playoff picture in week 2 of the NHL season. So there's a lot to talk. There's obviously still a lot of news stories coming out. Jaromir Jagr scored his 750th career goal in the last 2 weeks. It's really kind of just trying to pick up on some news. And Sunday was the first of the year of the outdoor series, the Tim Hortons Heritage Classic in Winnipeg, in wherever the Winnipeg CFL Stadium is. It was the Winnipeg Jets and the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers eventually, wearing their very, very orange jerseys, managed to topple and shut out the Winnipeg Jets 3-0. So it was very interesting to see those young guys kind of get the big stage outdoors in the spotlight. So anyway, that is all the time we have for this week on Ice Time. There's plenty more hockey this year to talk about, and stick around for more Sports Zone coming after this.
Welcome to Sports Zone. This is Throwing It Up. My name's Nathan. Alongside is Jake Elmsley and Justin Sims. Today's topic is NBA preseason basketball. Now I want to ask our panel here today, what was the biggest preseason storyline for you? Jake, I'll go to you first.
I mean, one of the big ones is probably the injuries to Ben Simmons. I mean, obviously, when the number one pick in the draft is a guy who everybody's probably looking the most forward to seeing goes down on a team that's trying to find an identity. That's not a good sign for them, not a good sign of what they're trying to do to rebuild. So seeing him not able to play yet, that's probably the biggest thing that everybody, besides some of the purists will be trying to look at the chemistry of some of these teams, but that's going to be the biggest thing. I mean, the number one pick, he's the number one guy people want to see, so that's got to be the number one thing for them.
I totally agree. I mean, Ben Simmons is the number one pick out of the draft. He's been called the next LeBron James. He still is working on his outside game as LeBron is doing still, but breaking that metatarsal bone is the same injury that Joe Embiid had. And also on the team, Nerlens Noel needs surgery this year. How do you think that's going to impact the 76ers this season?
I mean, when you define impact, do you mean like the difference between 20 wins and 10 wins? They're not doing any. Like, if you want to talk about it that way, they're not doing anything. I mean, Nerlens Noel, I think, is a very high quality player. Like, if you want to talk about when he plays his natural center position, he has the potential to be one of the best defenders in the league. So I mean, they're losing that ability, but they're so deep in that front court. And it doesn't even, they're so bad anyway. It impacts them. Probably the biggest impact it has is that these guys being injured is it impacts their ability to show them off for potential trade suitors, which has to be the only move they can possibly make at this point. So yes, him not being able to play impacts his value, but I mean from an overall winning perspective, it's not.
Justin, what do you think that the Philadelphia 76ers are destined to receive the #1 overall pick this coming year, or do you think they can still salvage it out with the good Jahlil Okafor and all these Eastern European players they signed over the offseason?
First of all, the 76ers did a good job in the draft, but is anybody going to be worse than the Brooklyn Nets? I mean, is that a question? It's not a question. You got Jeremy Lin as your best player. I believe in Joel Embiid. He looks like a superstar in the making if he's healthy. Now, if he's not, that's up in the air. But Nerlens Noel is going to be a trade chip. Ben Simmons, when he comes back in January, I believe, is going to be good. You got young, up-and-coming point guards on the team. And, you know, they'll get 20 wins because they just have enough talent, and you're not going to be worse than 10 wins last year just because.
I totally agree. You're building through the draft. You're building a little bit through free agency, also getting Sergio Rodriguez from FC Barcelona. I think that'll add some good, solid veteran presence to their backcourt. Now, I want to move on to an article published on ESPN earlier this week about Draymond Green. As you know, Draymond Green has some interesting relationships with Steven Adams, as we could see by his kicking antics in the finals. Now, in an article published, Maurice Spates, former power forward of the team, said that Draymond Green really messed with the team chemistry. His outbursts were a distraction. I mean, in February, he had that huge outburst where he said, "I wasn't a robot," and he told Steve Kerr to come over and sit me the bleep down. Now, Draymond Green is no doubt a phenomenally talented player, a lockdown defender, and can play positions 1 through 5. But are his antics hurting the team, and what can the Warriors do to fix them?
I mean, you ask me, I don't think so. I mean, you saw them win. I mean, if they had won the finals this year, this would be a non-issue. But I think that Draymond Green, being a very emotional leader, fits well in that team. I mean, we all see the way he acts, but I think that he is the emotional leader of that team. I mean, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, both, even Kevin Durant now, all very low-key guys. So he's not exactly doesn't have any big personalities to conflict with. So at least having one guy who's like that. I mean, obviously we see him have some antics off the court with what happened with him and some college students this year. But really, seeing him act like this, I mean, seeing him being an intense player, I think it fits well with that team. And clearly, they've had success with the chemistry that they have. I don't think it's an on-court chemistry issue. I mean, in the finals this year, he was probably the best player on the court for the Warriors for most of the finals. So, I mean, I don't think it's a chemistry issue from a playing perspective, no.
Yeah, I believe this is a non-issue. Draymond Green's a very passionate player. I mean, if this was him on Sacramento, like Boogie Cousins, that's a problem because he's the best player. I mean, you need that, like, bad energy on a team that's going to be a villain the whole year. Yeah, the spotlight's going to be on him kicking and flailing like he did the other night against Portland's going to be a problem, but, I mean, it's Draymond Green. You just let him ride.
Yeah, I totally agree. Draymond, as a Warriors fan myself, I'm always a little bit tired at the end of the year of his antics. I mean, just play the game. But sometimes you need that fire and need that drive to pump up other players on your team.
Well, yeah, but you also got Dennis Rodman from the '96 Bulls, so, I mean.
Of course.
You need that bad boy in you. So.
I mean, hopefully he doesn't. Draymond's no longer the ambassador to North Korea like Rodman is. But now moving on to season predictions. Do you guys think anyone can challenge the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference? I mean, the Clippers bringing back Blake Griffin this year and Chris Paul both healthy, and the Spurs 1 year more with LaMarcus Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard, but they did lose Tim Duncan. Can anyone challenge the Warriors?
I mean, the Clippers, I don't believe so. I mean, the Clippers just don't really have the bench to do it. I think the Clippers are a decently shallow team. I mean, the Clippers are still a top 3 team in that conference. But, I mean, the Spurs are always a threat just because of the level of coaching that they have there. I mean, they do have a lot of talent and a lot of experience on that team. But, I mean, when you get down to it, if the Warriors win or lose, it'll come down to their own ability to match the pieces together. It's not going to be so much because any other team is able to come in there and challenge them at a very significant, consistent level. It'll really come down to how the players on that team, with Kevin Durant being entered into it, are able to gel together, which personally I don't see there being much of an issue. We've seen in the preseason working out very fine. We saw a lot of those players work together well on Team USA during the Olympics, I mean, for whatever that means. But really, I don't see a team in the West, unless the Spurs have some sort of revelation, which, as much as I love the Spurs, I really don't think will happen. So really, I don't see any team being able to significantly challenge the Warriors based on that team's own merit.
Justin, any final thoughts?
Look out for the Utah Jazz with the versatility. You got Rudy Gobert, you got Gordon Hayward, you got Rodney Hood, you got Trey Lyles, who could match up with Draymond at the 5. Keep a lookout for that team because they can guard Steph Curry with Dante Exum and freaking George Hill. Look out for that team. They can make some noise this year.
Well, it's always interesting here on Throwing It Up. This has been Nathan Lee, and this has been Sportszone along with Jake Elmsley and Justin Sims. This has been Throwing Up. Have a great week, guys.
Hello and welcome back to Sportszone. This is going to be our AU Insiders panel. I am Dan. Of course, I'm by myself as usual for this panel. And I'm going to give you a rundown of everything that happened in the last week or so in American University athletics. Because, after all, we all go to American University, and we should all care a little bit more about our athletics teams. Anyway, starting off inside this week, we'll start with the volleyball team, who I feel bad that I'm consistently making an afterthought. Because, in fact, there really isn't anything to say, just because they keep winning, and it's not new. So it's not really a story when they win, but they swept another weekend series over this past weekend. They're now, I believe, 11-0 in conference play, still the only undefeated team left, and I'm not sure there's anyone that actually really poses a threat to them at this point. If anything does change, obviously I will let you know, but for now it's business as usual for volleyball, and they're hunting for a 14th title in 16 years. Moving outside, also on the realm of conference titles, I want to correct actually something I said last week about field hockey. I thought they were playing Boston University this past weekend. That was incorrect. They played Colgate on Saturday, and then number 8 Delaware on Sunday. The BU match will be this coming Saturday, the 29th. So that's the match. That's the game that will be for all the marbles, as they say, in theory at least. BU currently technically still 3-1. They had their match with Holy Cross over the weekend suspended due to lightning, so that'll be finished Tuesday. BU was winning 2-1 in the second half when they pick it up. But really, who kind of knows how that's going to shake out? It was a 2-1 game, so totally still up for grabs. Holy Cross could make a run. If BU wins, next week's game will decide who hosts the Patriot League tournament. If BU loses, I believe AU will clinch the number 1 overall seed. So, that game Tuesday does have some impact, but expecting BU to hold on and win, it'll be the Saturday game at Jacobs Field that will decide who's going to host the tournament. Moving on, men's soccer on the road this week, they went up to Bucknell and squeaked out a 3-2 victory in overtime. Danny Kaiser scored the winner about 45 seconds into overtime, which is, if you're going to go to overtime, finish it in less than a minute. That's a pretty good way to do it. Not their strongest outing overall, but enough to get the win. As I said, I think last week, the rest of their schedule is mostly the bottom half of the standings. So you'd like to see them not have to go to overtime, but a win's a win and you take the 3 points. Additionally, Loyola, who was in first place, they were 1 point ahead of American, actually drew this weekend, earning them only 1 point, and with the Eagles' win and 3 points, American now 1 point up on Loyola, and as I said, an easier schedule down the stretch. So there's a chance that they could be hosting a conference tournament as well if all stays as it currently is. As I said, it's a very slim margin, just 1 point up on Loyola, but it's enough for that number 1 overall seed. Finally, transitioning over to women's soccer, they had senior day this past weekend, so we'll give a congratulations to all the seniors who have now technically played their final game at Reeves Field. It's been a good run over these 4 years, and again, they actually did really nice things. A bunch of the teams kind of dealing with injuries, including 3 of the seniors, but they got their opponent to actually agree to allow, or Holy Cross was their opponent, so the coach of Holy Cross agreed to let them put 3 injured players on the field for the opening kickoff, so they can, get one final touch on the ball before their career came to an end. So that was a really nice gesture, really nice to see. So we'll give ups to them. I know thumbs is later, but whatever. I did it now. I'll get them again later. So that was a nice gesture, as I said, from Holy Cross, and a nice thing from Coach Annabelle Herring as well to get them onto the field one last time. I'm sure they appreciate that. So as I said, this weekend, big field hockey match, men's soccer also at home on Sunday, and volleyball has a Friday and a Saturday game. So lots going on the campus of American University this weekend, and as I said, most of it has conference tournament outcomes hanging in the balance. So it's good reason to go, good reason to stop in, support your team, swipe in, you get some points, and you can win some food and stuff and things. I think it's senior day for lacrosse, so there will be a ceremony for that as well as they look to go out with a bang. And that is, I should recap the games that happened. I said they played, but I didn't say what happened. They beat Colgate 6-1. pretty handy victory. Colgate winless on this conference season, only 1 win overall. It's been a tough road for them. But they lost to Delaware. I think same score, actually 6-1. But that's a non-conference match, and Delaware is the number 8 team in the country. So you can understand that it was a top 20 matchup, tough opponent. So AU now 5-0 in conference play. I believe 11-5 overall, and as I said, leading the conference in field hockey for now. That is all the time we have for this AU Insiders panel. Stay tuned for more Sports Zone coming up after this.
Hello, welcome back to Sports Zone. This is everybody's favorite segment, Thumble, Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down, where we talk about the good, the bad, and sometimes ugly in the world of sports and the world at large. So I'm going to get the ball rolling. I'm here with Cody Cohen for the time being. You'll get to see kind of everybody on this segment. So we're going to start thumbs up to the New York Jets. We won a game. We're 2-5 now. And double thumbs up to the fact that we don't have to see Geno Smith ever again. Jets fans, the wait is over. Geno Smith is gone for the year. Let's bring on Bryce Petty and Christian Hackenberg. It's their time to shine. Thumbs middle, I guess, to the Eagles because, they toppled the Minnesota Vikings, but they won, so they're still going 14-2, Super Bowl bound. Really gives me the chills that they're doing well because Deepak must be losing it in South Philly right now. South Philly, Villanova. He's going to grad school there in case anybody didn't know. Thumbs up to hockey. It's the beginning of the year. The Rangers are 4-2. Lundqvist has yet to get injured, which is always important because, he's bound to. He's going to complain, He's going to get hit or something because people hit him because he's a good goalie. Thumbs up to the Chicago Cubs. They're in the World Series for the first time since World War II. God bless them that they've gone this long. The fact that there have been generations of Cub fans that have died without their team even being in the promised land. They are in the Fall Classic. Unfortunately, they don't get to host Game 1, but either way, they're in the World Series. I believe John Lester probably is going to get the start in Game 1 because when doesn't John Lester get to start in Game 1? I'm going to thumbs up the New York Mets for truly emerging as kind of New York's baseball team right now. It really, really hurt me to say that, but the 3 Mets fans staring at me right now are ecstatic that a Yankee fan would admit that. Live it up. Thumbs down to Ryan Fitzpatrick for coming back. He's thrown 9 interceptions in, 7 games now. So really just absolutely ridiculous, inexcusable. Thumbs up to Jimmy Vesey because, the Harvard grad is showing that even guys in the Ivy League can play hockey and at a high level. Thumbs up to the Edmonton Oilers because they're 5-1, and my prediction of Darnell Nurse being a really good defenseman is true. Really also a great kid. That's all my thumbs. So I'm going to turn it over to Cody Cohen. We're back on the air together.
We're back. It feels good to be back. Long time no see. Okay. Thumbs up for midterm week finally being over. Thank the Lord. And also, for those who don't know me, I'm American University's Cody Cohen, obviously. So, still, like I said, thumbs up for midterm week being over. Thumbs up for getting back to sweater weather. God, I love it. I think we're looking at high 50s this week, maybe low 60s. That's my prediction. Thumbs down. Actually, no, I don't have thumbs down. It's going to be a really good week. Isn't it a great week, guys? I'm having fun. You guys having fun? And also, I've been told by my producers I have to give you guys a life hack. So welcome to Life Hacks with me. So one life hack is, if you get deodorant on one of your shirts, take a dryer pad and wipe it off. It's that easy. Let me hand it over to Jake. Jake?
All right, thumbs up to Cody Cohen's life tip because I've been having a big issue with deodorizing and stains lately. So thank you, Cody. Thumbs up to Landry Jones for not being a dumpster fire. Thumbs up to the New England Patriots for basically being in cruise control for the entire second half of that game, beyond what the score will tell you. Thumbs down to everybody on my fantasy team who underperformed. Thumbs up to everybody on my fantasy team who overperformed. Don't need to get into specifics right now. Thumbs up to my best pal, Jackson, back home for when he thought he was winning, making his fantasy name a chirp at my fantasy team's name, and then losing because David Johnson could have put up 2 points in overtime. So if you watch this, That's a shout out to you. Thumbs up to the Golden State Warriors 2016 to 2017. We're going to win the league because Variety doesn't exist in the NBA tour about to begin. Thumbs up to Throwing It Up, officially coming back, even though it came back last week, but now I've made it official. Thumbs down to the lack of production credits for me this week because Ryan doesn't believe that my transitions can be seamless and smooth like a creek with a raging waterfall behind it. Thumbs up to Tom Brady because why not? And that's all I got. So, yeah, it's Vikram.
Hello everyone. So thumbs up to the weather outside, that is beautiful. Thumbs up that midterms are over, at least for me. Thumbs down for Red Devils who were thrashed by Chelsea 4-0. And thumbs up to Madrid as they're back on top of La Liga. Thumbs up to Liverpool as this weekend panned out well for them. And thumbs down as I broke my laptop charger. I need to buy one right now. And thumbs up to soccer all over the world. Thumbs up to sports all over the world. That's all I have for you now.
I'll start with my thumbs down to Kershaw. He underperformed in the playoffs. And the LA Dodgers put all the pressure on him and he did horribly. Thumbs up to the Cubs for making the World Series. It's been a while. Thumbs up to the New York Giants for winning against, I think, LA Rams in London. And thumbs up to my parents who came this weekend. And here's Nate.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to start with my thumbs up first. Thumbs up to the Golden State Warriors for kicking it off on Tuesday night against the Spurs. I think the over-under is we're going to win 110-3. Thumbs up to the New York Mets and the Toronto Blue Jays for warming my couch while I'm watching the World Series. Thumbs up to the Oakland A's for being the farm team for every other team in the Major League. I think John Lester was there at once. Yoenis Cespedes was there at once, but I don't know. Hi, Jake. Thumbs up to Jake for doing whatever he just did. And let's see, thumbs down to the San Jose Sharks for blowing a 2-0 lead to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And here's Kristen.
I'll give a thumbs up to the Cubs for getting to Kershaw early and often in Game 6. That's a really big deal, and it's going to be really exciting to see them back in the World Series after all this time. Thumbs up to the NBA starting back up again. The Knicks open their season tomorrow against the Cavs, and the Cavs will be having their pregame ring ceremony. And thumbs up to two of my favorite former Knicks who will be getting their rings. And hopefully that will light the fire for the Knicks to do well this season. And that's all I have. So here's Jessica.
So, thumbs up to midterms being over. Thumbs up to the Seattle Sounders for winning last week, 2-1. Good job. Didn't win the week before that, so that's nice. Thumbs down to Manchester United losing 4-0 to Chelsea. Honestly, if they're going to spend that much money on getting new players, they should probably focus on the defense because it's not very good. And thumbs up to Real Madrid for coming back on top because at least one of my teams is doing well. And here's Vince.
We're going to start with a thumbs up. I don't like to use the word hero a lot, but we're going to go thumbs up to Jake for that hero, army crawl, green screen save. Thumbs up to you, buddy. Speaking of heroes and someone who's not a hero, we're going to go thumbs down to Robin Van Persie, someone I really don't like to acknowledge. He was with Arsenal from 2004 to 2012, then really broke my heart, went to Manchester United for 1 year, sold his soul to the devil to win a title, and then returned there with Fenerbahce this week and said he was going home when he was going to Manchester, despite the fact that he was with Arsenal for 10 years of his life. Like, that didn't even happen. So Robin Van Persie, I hate you. Thumbs down forever and ever. Thumbs up because Landry Jones did better than I thought, but thumbs down because he was still terrible, and it wasn't good enough. Thumbs down to the Steelers for blowing like the 1,000 opportunities the Patriots gave them to win that game. They really didn't capitalize on any of them, and the season really kind of looks in question. Cam Hayward, get healthy as soon as you can because the run defense sucks without you. Thumbs down. This is a really depressing thumb segment for me. Arsenal, again, couldn't beat Middlesbrough, couldn't even register a quality chance against Middlesbrough and tied them to just say, Liverpool, there you go, title, why not? And that's all I got this week.
All right. Ooh, now we're focused. Okay. I will start with a thumbs down. I think for the second time in 3 weeks, we've had like some disasters in the sliding of this segment. We had the green screen rear its ugly face yet again. I only say it's ugly because we don't actually know how to use the green screen for what it's meant to be used for. So it's just green. Whatever. We prefer black. And yeah. Thumbs up. I will echo Ryan in the fact that I never have to see Geno Smith play quarterback for the Jets again. To be fair, he's hurt, which is not necessarily the way it should have. Whatever. Like, I feel bad cheering an injury, but he doesn't have to play anymore, which is nice. And bonus thumb, because it means the Jets will be forced to at least dress Bryce Petty, who may or may not be the future. He probably isn't. I don't know. But he's somebody different, and, why not? He could be, I don't know. He could be average. Who knows? The Jets have played a lot of third-string quarterbacks over the years. Greg McElroy, Brooks Bollinger, Eric Ainge. It's been a mess. But so we'll see what Petty can do. Why not? I'm going to go soccer. Thumbs up. Let's go MLS. Bradley Wright Phillips won the Golden Boot. He plays for the New York Red Bulls, which I think theoretically is supposed to be the MLS team that I root for. Not that I really follow the MLS all that much, but sure. Also a thumbs up for U.S. women's national team. Carly Lloyd, did everyone see that goal that she scored from like 20 to 25 yards out? Run of play, just like the announcer called it, I think, with no regard for humanity, because that was quite a strike. From the arguably the best player in the world right now on the women's side. I'll give a thumbs up to AU's own Natalie Connor, put in a hat trick on Saturday against Colgate. Her second hat trick of the season to lead AU to that 6-1 victory. Thumbs up to Danny Kaiser for his overtime game winner for men's soccer. Thumbs up to the head coach of the Holy Cross women's soccer team for letting the AU team play their injured seniors on senior day. Which I talked about earlier. Thumbs down to the ATV computer that's not working right now, so I can't edit the show or our baseball segment, which may or may not be released in time now. Thumbs down to me for guessing the order of the Cubs World Series rotation wrong. It was a guess, but I was wrong. Hendricks is getting Game 3. Arrieta's getting Game 2, which is a shakeup there. I'll give it the Mets a thumbs up because they actually cashed in their option on Jose Reyes, so he'll be back for 2017. He's not the same player he was, but he was a spark down the stretch this year, and even his personality is nice to have back in the clubhouse. I will hold out hope that just one game in 2017, he and David Wright will be on the same field at the same time, ideally with Reyes at shortstop and Wright at third, just because it would be so nostalgic and it'd be great. Thumbs down to the disaster of a Sunday night football game we had last night. It was a literal dumpster fire. I don't even want to talk about it. That was gross. Think that's all I have. The winner of our poll last week, which I actually didn't even announce on the show, but the poll was who should play quarterback for the Cowboys when Tony Romo is healthy, and the people have chosen Dak Prescott 100% of the way. So good for Dak. So he won that. Hey, thumbs up to our good Monday night matchup. We got Brock Osweiler returning to Denver. That'll be interesting. He's playing against his own backup, Trevor Siemian. That should hopefully be better than the Sunday night game. Maybe, who knows? That is all I've got. Your poll for this week: which championship-starved city is going to hold a ticker tape parade? Chicago or Cleveland? Cleveland did have the Cavs, so he technically already had a parade. But baseball-wise, it's been a long time. Chicago hasn't won a title since the White Sox in like 04, 05, something like that. It's been 10 years or so. So which city gets a ticker tape parade? You decide. We'll tell you the results next week. All right, thank yous. Vince, Kristen, Aviva, Jake, Nate, Vikram, Jessica, Ryan, Justin, who was new this week and was helpful. We have Ben Fall. We have Cody Cohen, of course. How could I forget Cody Cohen? And I think that is everybody. We had quite a lot of staff this week, which is nice. And we will see you all next week.